Hey guys, Andy N, spoken label, the amazing, and I've not actually asked you, Jen, for how do you pronounce your surname here? That's how hopeless I am today.
Corcoran. You have
Corcoran,
to
right? The,
pretend
the
the second
amazing,
O is not
yeah,
there.
the amazing Jen Corcoran. I should have asked you that in the first half, and I forgot.
Right?
So, anyway, on to the deep dive now. And I promised Jen I'll be doing some cruel and nasty questions for her, which I'm not, right? So, what we're going to do here, like we sometimes do with our DVs, so we'll have a chat. Jen's got 4 poems for us, and I'm just going to read out each one, and we're going to have a chat about them all as we go along. Right, Jen, over to you with poem number one.
Okay, so the first poem I'm going to read is the opening poem of the collection. It's called Her Kind, and it's after an original poem by Anne Sexton, which is also called Her Kind, and it follows the same pattern, but it's my words. I have made Whale an empath witch, soothing the black dogs, tending my flock. Sometimes wondered, maybe scratched an itch, creating reactions, never to mock. Untethered, yet burdened by my mind. A woman like that can blend with a gold stitch. I have been her kind. I have found the safest of spaces, lit candles, laid out cushions plush, invited kin to rest from races, cured ails with elixirs, shared tales that make blush, cursing the roles to which we are confined. A woman like that won't be bound to places. I have been her kind. I have learned to hold my head up high, broadened my shoulders and braced to absorb stings. With light and right on my side I fly. Your arrows become my wings. I soar above being maligned. A woman like that can survive all things. I have been her kind.
That was beautifully read, that one, Jen. You can certainly tell you rehearsed for that one anyway. So,
Oh.
now obviously,
All the drama.
oh yeah, right. There's a few things that you told me off mic about this one already, so I think we need to really touch on that straight away. You made me smile before me that you discovered this Anne Sexton poem by chance, really.
Yeah, I can't remember where I found it. I don't know whether I was wanting to know about witchy poems or I don't know where it came from. I just remember reading it and thinking, oh, I love that. I want to do something with that.
She was an incredible poet. She really, really was.
Yeah.
And I could be controversial and say this, and I'm going to say it anyway. And it might come back and bite me on the bum. This, but I've actually got Sylvia Plath's collected poems, and I do really like that book.
Yeah.
But the parts I've not read all Anne Sexton's. I think Anne Sexton is a very, very individual poet, and I think
Yeah.
she's in the shadow of Sylvia Plath in some ways. I think, and
Yeah. Potentially. She didn't have the, celebrity love life with the
no,
tortured
exactly,
poetry
no,
crossover.
exactly, yeah. No, it's I'm particularly line to this. I think I know the poem you're referring to here as well. And I think the repetition you've done with this piece, and as I said, it's like we've done obviously like people say I have, then I have been her kind.
Yeah.
The repetition of each stanza, I think, works really well.
Yeah.
It's always a danger in doing that sort of thing. It can need to vary in the last stanza. I don't think you did in this case. I think it works really, really well on that one straight away. And you told me already, this one's about your many hats you wear, isn't it? Really, I
Yeah, it
suppose.
feels it feels like that because it's I think that the link with witches is you do think about the persecution of them or and you think about the roles of women and it's something I touched on before and it's the fact that women sometimes are expected to just sit in one role or expected to perform one function or not given equal standing in various ways. So I think this celebrates the femininity. So the idea of tending to my flock and curing tales of elixirs is about the nurturing side of it, but also scratching itches and making people blush is like
Yeah.
you don't lose that side of yourself just because you're a mother or a wife and so that it really is encompassing that cursing the roles to which we are confined. And I would not argue that there's not been some progress, but there's little things like I imagine you probably find this with your wife. If she goes somewhere, I imagine someone says who's looking after the children in a way that you probably don't get as much, and you might get it, but I just don't think it's to the same extent with women and men. And
Yeah,
so
nice.
despite all the progress, even young children come out with sexist things, don't they? And you think, that's just society.
Yeah, I think you're right with it. And my dad said this a while ago to my dad's 88, he's 89 next year, or 89, 2024. And he said this at times to me, his generation society moved a lot. But
Yeah,
I think my generation, and also yours as well, we've still got a lot more hoops to go through.
yeah,
And I've got like a nephew who's 16, like I said, and another nephew has just turned 1. In both their generations to come, these are going to be really crucial
yeah,
building blocks in the next generation. When you're looking at stuff like that, we both talked about green politics before, and I don't really go on to it in this podcast, but there's going to be a lot of change coming in the next 20, 30, 40 years. Yeah, and you can see it. There's been changes, not
yeah.
enough yet. And I think this poem's a really good example of that. I think is if you're a woman, I think you're expected, basically, to carry, I'll be a really good juggler.
Yeah, and it's yeah, there's another poem in there, the Prima Facie one, where I talk about where you're supposed to be a Madonna or a whore, and it
Yeah,
is that very much put into boxes, and the expectations. And I think that one of the reasons that we have so much conflict and division in general is because people do see just that one facet and they hone in on it. And even in terms of politics, you know, I'm a member of the Labour Party, as we said, that's a broad church. There are people who are in the same party as me and we're working towards the same goal, and we have different views on key elements, but I always think there's something you can connect with somebody on. I don't think anyone's ever a lost cause. It might be that you and someone else see political stuff completely differently, but you both really like cats, or you both really
yeah.
like crisp sandwiches or anything to
You
do.
do. Yeah, yeah. No, I
Connections you
agree,
can
agree with you
make on
completely.
different levels.
I mean, you're dead right of it, because the way society is, that's what people don't get sometimes, is we have got more in common with each other than you
Yeah,
might really think. Yeah, I completely agree with it. It's not as
commonality
obvious
is
sometimes. Yeah,
great to find, and difference is also to be celebrated. And not, there are certain publications that I would now choose to read, but I like to know what's being said in them and what's informing the views of other people,
yeah.
because you can't
No,
live in a bubble, can you?
no, definitely can't with that one straight away. So, right, we better move on, because we're
Yeah,
going to
we'll be
wander
here
onto
all day.
politics. We're going to be here all day, and we'll wander into politics. And unfortunately, if I was to do a political podcast, Jen, I'd invite you on, and we're going for hours. But I don't. Now that'd turn into a ranting podcast, so we'll leave that alone, right? So, right, okay, on to poem number 2.
This is a lovely segue, actually, because Equilibrium is poem number 2, and it is one that I've written that does obviously look at two sides of the same coin, essentially. So it could be read in different ways, but I'm going to read it going from left to right and across. But if you buy the book, you might find you want to read it in other ways. Equilibrium. Pockets in clothes, the twirl of a skirt. Ordering clothes that looked okay on the screen, but not on you. There are no rules. Drinking a cuppa at just the right temperature. Going for the last swig of a brew to find it's gone. Get the kettle on. A lyric that tickles your brain, heart, soul, or all of the above. The nervous anticipation when you recommend something you really love. It's good to share. Just a little
Fantastic.
one.
Yeah, it caught me out, because I thought I'd admit that poem was longer than what it was, and so.
No, it's only a little one. I think it might have been a blue balloon prompt for Equilibrium. And I'm a big fan of looking at both sides of things, you know, and seeing the benefits of things if they're not exactly as that you thought they were going to turn out, because I think it's just better for your head.
Yeah, it's one that I think to think about this piece, and I don't want to analyze the content over too much, because you can take it, because if people see it in the way it's set on the pages, it covers all over the page on it. So that's one way of putting it. I think when you do
Yeah.
poems like that, there's various ways you can look at it.
Yeah.
So I think I'll ask you a question on it, a couple of quick questions on this one, okay? First of all, where did the title come from?
I think it was a prompt. I
Hmm,
think that I pick up a lot of stuff from prompts, and I think that I do it in the way that I fit. Sometimes I think I've got something to say, but it can feel a bit exposing to be like, that's what I'm thinking about today. So I get a prompt and I see what my knee-jerk reaction is. Almost like, you know, when you flip a coin, you think you don't know what you want, but then you're either pleased with the outcome or you're disappointed, and then that tells you what you actually wanted.
yeah.
So I think I was trying to look at like balance, and I actually genuinely think I had just ordered some clothes that looked really rubbish on me, and so I just wanted to express that.
Yeah, there's definitely a feel of improvisation behind this piece,
Yeah,
but I wasn't
there's
sure what level.
it's
It's
usually a
like,
bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Then when I talk about something surface, it makes me think about something a bit deeper. And so that's sort of where the poetry ends up going. I think I start off being a bit surface because I try and be a bit accessible and jolly. And then as I think about it, I do it because I don't really sit and plan poems ever so much. Sometimes if they're a commission or if they're about somebody, I'll research them. Or if I'm doing them for an event, like last week I was doing a Christmas variety show, so I wanted to write something about Christmas, and so I wrote about Christmas tradition. So I did a little Google to prompt and do that for myself. But generally a lot of my stuff is a knee-jerk reaction to a prompt line, or how I'm feeling on a certain day, or something I've read, or something that's happened to me. And again, because I've got young children, most of my stuff's just written on my notes app in the bathroom. So I don't know, my children must think I've got terrible bowel health because I just finish poems off, I go missing. And so I think this one was, because when you have a cup of tea and it's just right, it's amazing, isn't it? But like then you go to finish it and you're like, oh, I've already had that, and you are miffed, but you can make another one, it's fine.
Now I'm like that myself sometimes. You can definitely see it with some stuff sometimes where you end up scratching your head sometimes, what's the right balance on it straight away. And it's out of interest, what made you, because obviously looking at it here, if you look at the form of this piece, you've got obviously the two voices on the split across the page on the first two lines, and one line again, and then the two lines and one line again. What made you want to break the form for the last part of the poem?
It was a bit like a pros and cons list, really. So, pockets in clothes when you don't expect them is great, but if they didn't look so good on you, that's not so good. But in both cases, there are no rules. So actually, the pockets can be there or not. And actually, it doesn't matter if you feel good in something. It sort of doesn't matter if it doesn't look like it did on the screen. So either or can take you to there are no rules. And if you like having a cup of tea at the right temperature, you think, yeah, go on, let's have one. But if you just missed one, you can also get the kettle on and do it again. So it's, different positive and negative experiences can still lead you to the right path. So it felt a bit like drawing threads together, and you could always mix and match it, couldn't you? Because you could have a day where you've got a really twirly skirt on, but then you've missed your brew, but then you've heard a really nice lyric when you've been making a cup of tea in the kitchen, and you wouldn't have heard it if you needed another one. And I like it, the combination of you taking control and having accountability, but that things crop up that you don't expect in life as well, and a little bit of kismet having a little bit of a hand.
Perfect. I agree with you completely. Right, we'll move on to poem number 3. Look at this. I've just realised this one's a bit of a longer piece, and I think number 4 is as well. So I want to give you time to get these done.
None of them are too long, but
no, people are panicking. These are not 5-page epics, right? Just slightly different.
Because
slightly longer than the second piece, right?
There's only so much you can do on your notes app in the bathroom.
I'm just going to say shut up. I'm going to shut up and move on. Back to you for number 3.
Okie dokie. So number 3 is called Ode to the Poets. I'm besotted with a lot of you. Proud as punch to see your triumphs, your books, the way you all have different looks, and oh my days, some of those hooks. You are wizards of words and curators of the absurd, rolling with this higgledy-piggledy herd, where lines are spoken and boundaries blurred, scars are bared and uncovered, new feelings discovered, memories recovered, whether we are hurt or we're happy, somber or sappy, political, analytical, constructive, self-critical. I'm moved to tears by your hopes and fears. Your words are art that shapes and breaks hearts. It frees minds, bodies, and probably souls. You're tackling life and you're scoring the goals. But those on the side can be cheerleaders and kin. This is a community and we will welcome you in. It is not an invasion to make your pitch. We are weaving a world and the threads are rich, richer than satin and richer than gold, but not out of reach if you want to grab hold. Poetry is for everyone, for young and for old and for all in between, the dirty, the flirty, the rough and the clean. Tell me your story. Let's all make a scene.
Fantastic, indeed, and fantastic again. And we were talking about this one off mic before, and I see this because I've done this myself before now. When you sat at reading, sometimes you went to come away to reading either at Zoom or in person, and you're either writing or drawing it or afterwards. And you told me, I thought this one was wrote afterwards, wasn't it?
It was straight after. I've done a lot of Zoom ones because I've done some in person, but there's not much at this end. So this is just one I've been on a Zoom one, and I find people just open up, and I love the different styles and the different forms and the variety, and I just get so inspired by being around creative people and the support and the outpouring of support for stuff, and so it just was quite an instinctive reaction to coming off the back of it, because whether you've performed or not, being in anything like that, I think I find as a performer, you get off stage, you're awake for hours, and it's a bit like when you've been to a football match or a gig, and I think that it's an empath thing as well, because in life there's a lot of conflict and a lot of different motives, but if everybody's gone to a poetry gig, people have given up their time and they've logged on, or they've turned up at the bar, or they've turned up at the coffee shop, and like gigs are the same and sporting events are the same, people are all there with the same positive goal, and they're opening up a bit of their hopes and dreams and putting their heart on their sleeve, and I think that's what creates such a positive energy, and you can get it even through a screen, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, that's what I think the great is, really what you're saying. But with one good thing that's come off lockdown straight away with COVID was Zoom. Because like
Yeah.
it was, I'd been on, I don't know about you, but I'd been on Zoom, I think it was twice before lockdown, but it certainly wasn't something that was known. Like I
No.
said, it was like,
Is there a bit of Skype in the old days if you knew someone in another
oh,
country, but that was about it.
yeah, I've got Skype. I've got Skype, and
Yeah.
I ended up doing an interview for someone in a radio station recently through Skype, and I had logged into it, and it's the first I've been on Skype in about 4 years. Like as soon as you know yourself, as soon as Zoom came in the wing, it took everything
Yeah,
over, didn't it?
just everything, and it made things so much easier for a lot of things. And I again, it's accessibility, isn't it?
Yeah,
So I
definitely
love
that.
going to a night and getting up on a stage, but also I've got the kids, and so if their dad's rehearsing or he's away for work or something, it doesn't mean I can't do things. It just
Yeah,
means, I mean, I sometimes have to go because like somebody's had a,
yeah,
some sort of demand that they need somewhere else. But again, everyone's always really understanding of that, and it's yeah, it's great. I'm just always so inspired and impressed by art in all forms, really.
yeah. Same for me as well. I love going to Zoom nights. Don't get as
Yeah,
much time to them as I'd like to
yeah,
sometimes because
so
it's life gets in the way. But you're dead right,
yeah,
mate. So right, anyway, listen, I'm just conscious of the time here today. So
yes.
on to the big finale.
So this is the last poem we're doing here, and it is maybe one of the more surreal ones, and it's the last poem in the book, and it's called Thoughts While My Broccoli Boils. Are they making Lurpak slipperier? More slippery? Or is it my motor skills? Maybe it's the knife choice. Should I really be having a crisp butty while I'm waiting for my greens to cook? Maybe I need the salt. Loads of people say they're sweet enough if you check if they take sugar, but I'm not sure many claim saltiness when they're offered seasoning. Maybe drag queens too. Sassy salt and tea. Oh, that could be the title of your band, your album, your sex tape. Delete as applicable. Where are the almonds? Addendum. It was only a one slice butty with a couple of crisps from a big bag. Well, six crisps. And I do have low blood pressure.
Love that piece. I think it's a great, it's really, I think it's quite cheeky way actually of finishing off the collection. Can you look what we've done with the first piece and the first two, really? They're very quite serious pieces.
Yeah.
And I think that one is the poet's one is more like open your arms up to the world. This one's much more inward to me.
Yeah.
And there's a few things I really liked about this piece. And it was like I found it a very chatty style actually straight away
Yeah.
with it. And I loved the bit in it about where you put delete as applicable. Then you put the addendum in at the end of it. It was almost like a PS. And
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, there was a really good sort of smiling, sort of happy sort of poem to collection off there. Was that planned, this one, as the last poem all along?
No, I just realised I'd got a bit heavy with some of them. So in the collection, it does go on a bit of a heavier journey with some. And I wanted to finish it on something light, really. And not that I necessarily think people will read it cover to cover, but they were literally thoughts I was having. And I think that whilst on the surface of it, it's quite an innocuous poem about having a crisp butty while you're eating broccoli. But then it is also about that you that inner voice, and you can be self-critical and you can make excuses, and you're trying to balance healthiness and not healthiness. And it's definitely more a narrative style, and it felt a bit more like if you were doing a Victoria Wood, or because the other thing that I've done that I might lean towards again in 2024 is I did do stand-up once, a charity one, because it's a bit like poetry and it's a bit like monologues. And so like Lisa O'Hare and Ilari Passeri, they're other people who've done like one-woman shows, and they're based in poetry and prose, aren't they? So I think it was one of those where it can be very light and you can just take it as a bit of some weird ramblings while someone's making dinner, or you can look at why does your inner voice go down those tangents. So it just felt like a nice sort of surreal ending,
Yeah,
because
it
you
definitely
can
had
go
surreal,
anywhere with
surreal.
that, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's got that sort of surrealness, man. It's good. It's like I always believe in poetry. I mean, when you get into it more, and same your writing and generally your creativity, you want to keep pushing yourself all the
Yeah.
time. And I think it's a great way to finish a book off this, because it shows. I'm not going to say a second collection will be this direction. It's giving hints at what you could end up doing next. Maybe you don't know.
Well, I'm always eating broccoli, so the world is my lobster.
And Chris Butties. Don't forget Chris Butties, right?
Oh,
So
not them on the head for a little while, you know. I've been a fab fighters about now. I do love a crisp butty. I do genuinely love salt. But how many times do you say, do you take sugar? He goes, no, sweet enough.
because of my
But no
point.
one ever says, oh no, I'm salty enough, thanks. And then
Well,
the drag queen. No one does that.
all I'm going to say to wrap up with is, I was out at Stockport Market yesterday, and they came back with brandy chocolate cherry cheese, and we've been creating that on sandwich and hot dogs at lunchtime today, and it was
Ooh,
a surreal experience.
ooh, you're like Heston Blumenthal over there.
But I know it was a bit of a surreal one. That's all I'm going to say, right? So,
You see, and if you did a poem about that, it could literally be a bit of scram, or it could be about opposites attracted or anything, couldn't it? That's the
yeah,
beauty of
exactly.
language and
Yeah,
food and people.
I'll have to get writing poetry again. Honestly, but anyway,
Yeah.
pass it over another day. So.
Just do a little piece about that lunch. It'd be gorgeous.
Well, I don't think he could give it correct justice. But anyway, we'll see anyway. So, anyway, Jen, I want to thank you today, and it's been an absolute
Oh,
pleasure. Just keep in touch, okay?
thanks for
And if
having
you
me. It's been lovely.
love to have you on again in the future if you feel like it. So,
Yeah.
right. Anyway, guys and girls, me and Jen are going to chat a little bit more off mic, because there's a couple of things I need to make clear with her today before we wrap up. But it's been a pleasure, Jen. Good luck with the
Thank you
book,
so much.
and good
Thank
luck
you.
with all the other projects you've got going, right? So, that's all I'm going to say there. So, thank you again. Right, guys and girls, as Don Callis over at AEW Wrestling says, stay safe. More importantly, stay over. We'll see you all next time.